Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and a very good evening right here from Kenya's capital. This is Nairobi Metropolitan Service, the heart of the Central Business District. Horizon TV and live Real Talk comes to you straight from Jamia Mosque, Nairobi premises. My name is Faisal, Kassim, and welcome to the live Real Talk. And tonight we will be talking about the jurisdiction of the Kadhis court, established since 19th century, of course, in a deal that was done between the Sultan of Zanzibar and the Queen of Britain, where Zanzibar would give 16-kilometer coastal strip to the Kenya, which was landlocked by then, and in return the Kadhis court would be adopted into the Kenya's law, whereby the 7 to 20% of the Muslim population by that time would be governed by this law. And of course, it has been reviewed over time. And currently, the Kadhis court is enshrined in the Constitution under Article 170, handling these matters. 1, personal status. 2, marriage, divorce, and inheritance. The conditions, only 2. 1, you must profess the Muslim faith, of course both parties preferably, and 2, those who submit to the jurisdiction of the Kadhis court. Who else better to discuss this topic apart from, I'm going to start with Dr. Rashid Ali Omar. Sorry, I forgot to say the name, Sheikh, the title Sheikh in between. Dr. Sheikh Rashid Ali Omar, the former Deputy Chief Kadhi, and of course it will be unfair for me to say that he is the first Deputy Chief Kadhi under the 2010 Constitution. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh, and welcome.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Okay, and also in studio we have one of the first sheikhs who integrated the Sharia law and the conventional law in this country, and this is none other than an advocate, Sheikh Ibrahim Lithome. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum salam.
Please don't say anything about your title. Jazakallah. And last but not least, we have the current Deputy Chief Kadhi, and that is none other than Sheikh Sukyan Omar. Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for making it here for us this evening. And we are discussing matters the Kadhis court. And I'm going to start with you, Sheikh Ibrahim, because this is a discussion that it's not the first time we're having this discussion right here inside the studio. And having been one of the persons who has really fought for this Kadhis court in the Constitution, talk of the Bomas draft, talk of even this current BBI discussion that's ongoing. Of course, you are part of the Muslim delegation that presented the Muslim proposal, and it included the Kadhis court. And of course, you have been fighting for this Kadhis court every time the Constitution is being reviewed. Sheikh, it is over 60 years since Kenyans are having this Kadhis court in the system, and it's still being regarded as a magistrate in the levels of courts. What's not happening, Sheikh? We're not even the level of high court, not even appellate.
One thing that we need to understand is about the hierarchy of the courts. We have a hierarchy of courts in this country, in the judiciary, and the Kadhis court is considered as a subordinate court, and I have no problem with that myself, because any court below the high court is considered as a subordinate court, meaning subordinate to the high court. But that does not mean that the court is not a court like any other. So I have no problem with that. Now, I know when we were discussing the Bomas draft, if you look at the proposals that were made then, prior to 2010, actually there was a suggestion by all the Muslims, actually, because people are giving their proposals, that we should have an appellate system for the Kadhis courts, because of the unfairness of a person going in the first instance to the Kadhis courts, where Sheikh Sukyan and Sheikh Abdul Rashid sitting there, they will be guided strictly by Sharia in determining a matter. And then an appeal from that matter, and an appeal is acceptable even under a pure Islamic legal system. Appeals are allowed. Okay? And the argument was an appeal from the Kadhis courts, if the Kadhis courts handles the matter in the first instance, should go to a high court where there is a Kadhis court. So the matter should be determined by somebody who is conversant with Sharia. So that was the proposal.
Do you mean to say that we have the Kadhis court and at the high court level?
No, we do not have. It is below
it is below.
So any appeal from the Kadhis court goes to the high court. Okay. We wanted actually the proposal, and the documents are there. If you look at all the documents, they are very clear that we wanted an appellate system where the Kadhis courts, a ruling from a Kadhis court can be appealed in the Kadhis courts also of higher jurisdiction. Okay.
You're just so very open. They say that you don't have a problem with the Kadhis court being a subordinate. And I want to hear the views of the two gentlemen, of course, on the same. Sheikh Rashid Ali Omar, I'm going to start with you. Does it sit pretty with you, of course, knowing that you can give a ruling which can be overturned at the high court level or at the appellate level, so to speak?
The justice way, or when we look into justice, I feel that the court, if now this is an Islamic court dealing with a limited jurisdiction, that limited jurisdiction, when people are not dissatisfied with the rulings or judgment of that one, in the universal justice way and actually right, was it to go to the same actually court that will have the same feelings or the same jurisdictions on Islamic matters? This court was dealing, this is now the lower court, the Kadhis court deals with Islamic matters. Now it is unfair. It goes to a judge who does not even understand what is the crystal and elements of those in court jurisdictional areas given to the Kadhis. I feel we will have better have. Well, the way he has said that, the Sheikh said that we have made proposals. However, as it is now, I feel that also there are some judges who are very fair and who analyzes the law, and we can cope with it, but it is not the fairest way.
Okay, thank you so much. And of course, Deputy Chief Qadi Sheikh Sukian, I'm going to ask you the same question, but again I'm going to integrate it with this. You being the Deputy Chief Qadi, of course, as the Kadhis court is being regarded as a subordinate court, then that means decision from the Kadhis court can be challenged at a higher court level. So I just want to understand, are you as the Deputy Chief Qadi, or you have been a Qadi, you know, all along, are you consulted by some of these judges from the High Court or from the Courts of Appeal when your ruling is being challenged at that level?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, first of all, Horizon, for giving us an opportunity to discuss this very, very important topic. As earlier said by my colleagues, appeal comes when somebody does not satisfy or is not satisfied with the decision of any court. And the hierarchy, as Sheikh Lutheume said, is something which is there. And fortunately or unfortunately, when our forefathers bargained for the entrenchment of the Kadhis court in our constitution, it happened that the court was placed only or considered only at a subordinate position. In the superior hierarchy of the court, the Kadhis court was left out. I'm not very sure whether the negotiation was only limited to that, or it was an oversight, or the drafters doesn't make it. We lived with that for all this period. But one good thing which was there, at the superior court, many of the judges who sit there, they are not Muslims. But there's nothing that would bar that a Muslim judge would be there also. There's nothing that would bar that. Now, the reality is that the chain of the application of the Sharia law regarding family matters, the three items that you have mentioned, or the four matters that you have mentioned, or especially in the Constitution, is broken. It's only just at the lower section. But the law gives us one thing. In the Civil Procedure Act, we were given that any appeal that is preferred from the Kadhis court, when it ends up to the superior court, especially the High Court, right, then a chief Qadi will be there as an assessor. Or if the appeal itself is from the chief Qadi himself, then 2 Qadis must sit there as assessors. Remember, they are assessors, they are not judges. They are the one who will be guiding judges on the matter of the Sharia. If maybe the court which handled the case, the initial court, have flawed in Sharia. So this is still we enjoy and we have. But remember, the status is just an assessor. The decision maker finally is the judge. Right? That's the problem that we really have. Yes, some judges have consulted, and they have been consulting. I was consulted. Not only consultation, they requested for a write-up to guide them on a particular issue of Islamic law, but not all. So this is something which is there. Therefore, the biggest problem is that is the break of the chain, which is started at the lower level, ended there. That's the biggest problem that you have. Thank you. So,
Sheikh Sukyan, I'm going to still start with you. You said that you are admitted into those proceedings as assessors to that. So what effect do you have? I mean, from experience, how many rulings that you have given at the Kadhis court level that are still being upheld heading to the higher courts, that is the higher court and the appellate system? How many rulings that you've given are still upheld? Sorry, forgive some of us who are not so conversant with the legal terms. If you are an assessor in a proceeding, then where does your limit end? Where does it start? Where does it end? Can you advise? Can you determine the ruling? How does it end? How does it go? How does it work?
Thank you so much again. What I said, remember that the assessors are there as advisors to the judge. Okay. But for the matters that I sat with the judges while they are handling the appeal cases, the judges were very appreciative and accommodative and accept and accommodate, almost into consideration, that's the Kadhis now, our opinion, rather our opinion, okay, especially on the matter of the Islamic law. Okay, they are very much accommodative and they accept. And so far, each and every case that I assessed personally was accepted and upheld by the judges.
Okay, fair enough. Now, going back, gentlemen, allow me to take you a little bit back, because you're looking at there are 4 key issues that the Kadhis court should handle. 1, personal status. 2, marriage. 3, divorce. And 4, inheritance. And I'm going to start with you, Sheikh Dr. Rashid Ali Omar. Personal status, this is something that still stands quite ambiguous. From your experience, I mean, having been the first Deputy Chief Qadi under the promulgated Constitution of 2010, how do you define this personal status as captured in the Constitution?
Thank you very much. Indeed, it is true that personal status has its ambiguity, especially in the Kenyan context. When we look into Kenyan law, there is nothing that defines personal status. The judges, therefore, what they do is they refer to Black Law Dictionary, they refer to common law on this matter. On these matters, there is no time that we find that the judges were referring to Islamic law in this particular 4 elements, so the components of these 4 elements. Normally, the definition of personal status in Islamic law, Zuhaili and many scholars have defined what personal status is. But when we look into the topic under personal status is very wide, at the same time independent. You see that some scholars will say personal status will cover actually the person's non-proprietary issues and the status a person has at that time. However, beyond going to that, what I will have talked about is that personal status is the status that one acquires and has. If we look into marriage issues, it starts the personal status of the marriage like a child now, from when he is born or when he is from the stomach until he comes up back and nurturing and all these things. But it has, we have emancipation is a personal status issue. Trust, which is waqf, is a personal issue. Children matters, custody and maintenance is personal. I'm talking about elements in it. What is there? They talked about the judges disagreeing on matters on this. Okay, the question that I was asked was, what is personal status?
Yes.
Personal status is, in fact, the status of the person in regards to his legality to an issue, the law aspects of it. And also properties. And also, when he dies, until he dies, while he is alive, what he is entitled, and what is his rights, and what he is doing or not. These all are called personal status.
Interesting. Thanks so much. You just preempted the next conversation, and Sheikh Ibrahim Lithome, unfortunately we have to pay our bills. That is, we need to take a break right now. But again, just prepare yourself. I want us to talk about matters children. Interesting. I was having a conversation, I mean, in researching about this whole topic and discussion that we're having tonight, we were having a conversation with someone who prefers anonymity. And he tells me that, Faisal, all the lawyers that are coming there at the Kadhis court, if they want the judgment to go in a particular direction, then they tend to lean on the side of the argument that Kadhis court can handle children matters. This is captured under this quote-unquote personal status. But again, on the contrary, if they want things to happen a little bit differently, then they prefer the conventional court. And who is in a better position to answer that? None other than Sheikh Ibrahim Lithome is going to talk, and of course other panelists as well are going to contribute on that. But that and much more coming right to you after the break.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
beacon for the nation.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh once again, and thank you so much for keeping it live, Roll Talk, right here on Horizon TV. And we're still discussing matters Kadhis court, and we're talking about the bone of contention even amongst the Kadhis. The last time we were having this conversation 6 months ago between Sheikh Ibrahim Lithome and other officers of the court, it was very clear that this matter had even caused some sort of division even among the Kadhis. So Sheikh Ibrahim Lithome, here comes a question straight up. Does children case, can it be solved at the Kadhis court level? Can it?
Okay, maybe the question should be this. Let me put it in a very legal way. Does the Kadhi have jurisdiction over children's matter? Because let's talk legal now, Faisal here.
Okay.
And the answer
I'm trying to be very diplomatic in this case.
And for
because
me,
Sheikh, you see, I cannot declare that this is something that it has formed a bone of contention even amongst the Kadhis in this country, right?
Yes.
So I'm trying to be very diplomatic in this case.
So the question is whether they can or they cannot.
Whether they cannot, yes.
Do they have jurisdiction?
Yes.
And I'm answering, and mine is a very considered opinion, both as a lawyer,
yes,
as a sheikh, and also as a person that was involved in the review of the Kadhis courts, and also in writing of the Constitution of 2010. I can tell you outrightly,
yes,
the Kadhi has jurisdiction. And I know
they do have.
Yeah, they have jurisdiction, that jurisdiction. And even beyond children, we have rulings of a Kadhi.
Yes.
Sheikh Hamad, when Sheikh Hamad was sitting in Nairobi as the Kadhi of Nairobi, I took there a burial matter of somebody working with the city council, Nairobi. The Kadhi gave an order that this burial of a Muslim is a personal status matter, and somebody appealed in the High Court. After 6 months, the High Court upheld that the Kadhi had jurisdiction. Talking about children, because this is the matter at hand now.
Yes.
Faisal, take it from me. It is only the Kadhi that can determine the rights of a child who is a product of an Islamic marriage. Because what are the matters concerning children? Is about custody. We have what is called Hadana. It is only a Kadhi who can understand what Hadana is. When you talk about the definition of a child, I know under the Constitution of Kenya, you're talking about 18 years and above. But under Islamic law, there are other considerations to be looked at. When you talk about maintenance, because this child has to be maintained, and I talk about nafaqah, it's only a Muslim sitting there who can understand who is responsible for the nafaqah of that child.
Okay.
So I want to say it here very clearly. And I want to challenge anybody who has a different view that the Kadhi's court has jurisdiction over children who are a product of an Islamic marriage.
Interesting. So as you're challenging those who are outside there, I'm going to start with the gentleman inside the studio right here tonight. And Sheikh Rashid Ali Omar, do you think the Kadhis court should handle custody matters?
Thank you very much. It is indeed, I concur with my friend that Kadhis court has jurisdiction. First of all, jurisdiction given or donated to any court flows from the Constitution and also the legislature. In our perspective, Kenya aspects, we have the Constitution, Article 170. That donates 4 elements to the Kadhis court. The first one is personal status, followed by marriage, divorce, or inheritance. Similarly, the Kadhis Act Cab 11 says the same. These 4 elements are the ones the Kadhis court have jurisdiction in it. When that has to happen, yes. But now the situation is, are these 4 elements or these 4 issues elaborated, or they are crude in nature? The problem lies with the crudeness of the way they are actually molded, the way they are put there. And that one now has to be, and when you see the judges, there are 2 groups of judges. they have split it into two. Those donating, saying, maintaining the Kadhis court having the jurisdiction, and others not having. We have Abrule, we have Mchulule, we have Msioka, and then on the other side we have Sergon, we have Justice Stella Mutuka, we have others like Helen Omondi, we have Isaac Linaula, who also says Kadhis have jurisdiction in this matter.
Okay.
We have to find out now. We have done many cases when we were there, and the Kadhis are still doing. Most of the Kadhis, majority of the Kadhis are doing.
No.
And we will talk maybe later when where does the problem lies and how they will be looked into. But I feel, as I have done and believe, the act, the article in the Constitution and the Cab 11 of the Kadhis court has given the Kadhis the jurisdiction, absolute jurisdiction, to deal with children matters.
Okay, interesting. Thank you so much. And Sheikh Qadi, Deputy Chief Qadi, Sheikh Sukyan, I'm going to ask you the same question because Sheikh Ibrahim Lithome posed a challenge, and it's still, as we say, this is a bone of contention even amongst the Kadhis. And there is this review, case number 55 of 2016, where the Kadhis court was the first respondent to this case. 2016, of course, represented by Monesimu Salifam. You can correct me if I'm wrong. 2016, and the second respondent being Honorable the Attorney General, and the interested party MAA, of course, preferred anonymity according to this ruling, that stated the Kadhis court does not have the jurisdiction, the mandate to handle children's matters. What is your position, Sheikh, as the Deputy Chief Qadi?
We are still going back to the same, that what jurisdiction, as my brother said, jurisdiction is given by the law, be it by constitution or statutes. For Kadhi, it's not different, it's the same. The only bone of contention is that the judges who claim that the Kadhis court have no jurisdiction to handle issue of the custody sprang from two areas. One, the laws that donate jurisdiction to the Kadhis court, which is the Constitution of the Kadhis Court Act, does not specifically mention necessarily that children is one of the matters. Constitution the same. And then they say that we have a Children Act which established a court called Children's Court,
yes,
specifically for the children. Right. This is where they are coming from. Now, I want now to go back to these two again. Now, if you look at the clauses in the Constitution and the Kadhis Court Act that defines or limits the jurisdiction of the Kadhis Court, there's what we call personal status. It's the first line. What is personal status, as my brother said, is not fully defined. Just the other day, we were trying as a judiciary, I was in a team of the Judiciary Committee working on the response of the BBI. And I raised that one from the Kadhis Court, on behalf of the Kadhis Court, that we need a definition of the same and others. Now, one of the senior judges said, from the Supreme Court, actually, he said the personal status have no meaning in Kenya at all. And the word is not a license of flower to be just in my view, just in a statute or in the constitution. It must have a meaning. Even a comma has a meaning. Even a full stop have a meaning. The colon have a meaning in law. Now, what people fail to understand, from where we come from as trained Muslim lawyers, for example, there is a rule of interpretations. For example, you say personal law, and then you go ahead and define few. Like what? Marriage, divorce, and inheritance. This forms part of that personal law. Let me give an example in the Holy Quran. I think the majority of viewers here are Muslims. No. In the rule of interpretation of Islamic law, there is what we call dhikrul khasi ba'd al-am. You mention a general preposition and then follow with some of that prepositions. For example, تنزل الملائكة والروح. The malaika, the angels will descend, and then who else? The Jibril also will descend. Is Jibril not part of the angels? Indeed, he is part of them. But Jibril is mentioned because of the importance that he holds. Right? Also his position, for whatever reasons. The same way, personal status is mentioned among many others. Again, 3 items were mentioned in our constitution, also in our statutes of the Kadhis Court Act. This is what is issue of the marriage, divorce, and inheritance. There are also many others still not mentioned under personal status, including the marital burial issues, the wills, the issue of the talk of inheritance, for example, and then still their wills will have not been mentioned. There's no challenge on the same. All right, the issue of also trust and many other things, and children and betrothals, so many things lie under this. If you want to get some details on this, and there are some other jurisdictions which are similar to our own jurisdiction in Kenya, which have got an elaborate act which that guides the Kadhis court, or their courts there that deals with the family matters. Okay, in my thesis, which you can get even with Google, which deals with the same, you can get all those things. The same thing in the Children Act. I can challenge anybody. There is no provision. There is no single provision in the Children Act that says that the Kadhis court or another court for that purpose have no jurisdictions. Actually, it clearly states that other courts, if the matters appear of the children appear before it, okay, they can handle straight away that matter. So for that purpose, that matter cannot be set aside. But this, unfortunately, what some of the judges are really doing. Thank you.
Interesting. Thanks so much. Sheikh Ibrahim Lithom, I'm going to come back to you very briefly for like 2 more minutes because you need to pay our bills once again. In defining personal status, Sheikh Sukyan said, and Sheikh Rashid Ali Omar was nodding in agreement with what he was saying, that recently when they were having a conversation at the judicial level in response to the BBI, he raised this issue on the personal status, defining the personal status. Clearly, from this conversation, all the panelists are agreeing that this is part of the personal status as captured under the jurisdiction and the mandate of the Kadhis court, but it's still bringing in problems. Now that this personal status is undefinable, is indefinable, does that mean we're going to have to live with this problem until the day when the constitution is going to be changed again, Sheikh Ibrahim?
No, we don't have to do that. You know, the law is very clear. The law is there to address, to come up with remedies for mischiefs. When you're talking about children, the law is very clear. And anybody who is trained in law knows that we always look at what is in the best interest of the child. And in this case, Kadhi is handling a matter. A divorce matter, okay, that is clearly given there as one of, because the list that Sheikh Sukyan is talking about is just as an example. Personal status matters, for example, marriage, divorce, inheritance, but there are many others. And actually, Section 66 of the old Constitution gives it very clearly as examples. These are just examples. So there are many others. So for me, we don't even have to wait for the new Constitution. The question we need to ask ourselves is this. There is a matter before the Kadhi here.
Yes.
A divorce matter. There are children involved here. At the end of the day, you have to determine what is in the best interest of the child. This is a child who is a product of an Islamic marriage. I don't want to go to other issues of our belief that every child is born a Muslim. This is the child who is a product of an Islamic marriage. Now, when you talk about custody, and I want now to go now to terminologies that non-Muslims will just float, including judges, they will not know. We talk about habana. When you talk about habana, we talk about ri'aya, okay? Wal muhafadhat walad. It has to be the body of the child. It has to be the spirituality of the child, and also the intellectual growth of the child. It's only an Islamic court that can determine what is in the best interest of the child in all those 3 matters.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Sheikh Ibrahim Lithom. And that's where we take it on another very short break. But when we come back. Two key issues, of course, on top of my table. One, we want to know about what are some of these other challenges that the Kadhis courts are facing in this country. Second issue is that as Muslims, do we really appreciate these Kadhis courts? Because some Kadhis courts in some areas, they are being underutilized. I mean, what's the problem where? Let's talk about this and much more after the break. Please don't you go away.
Horizon TV, beacon for the nation.
قال تعالى في محكم تنزيله بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم
Ninasaha kutoka pwani.
هذا الدين قال الله قال الرسول قال الصحابة هم أولو العرفان انتهى.
Ili kuongoza kwenye njia iliyonyoka.
Sikizeni hadithi hii ya Mtume alayhi salatu wasalam.
Hakuna atakayeweza kumfungia mtu mlango ambaye Mwenyezi Mungu aliyemfungulia.
Kuimarisha imani yako.
ثبت قلوبنا على دينك وعلى طاعتك.
Ungana na mashekh wetu kutoka pwani kwenye mimbar.
Mimbar zinamwakilisha Mtume sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Ni Jumamosi na wakati saa 3 usiku katika Horizon TV, runinga uipendayo. Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back to the third and unfortunately the last segment of this show. And we're just having a discussion here off air with my panelists, and we're all in agreement that the time for this show is extremely less, but we'll see what to do. Uzuri, I have Sheikh Ibrahim Lithome, and just in case you didn't know, Sheikh Ibrahim Lithome is part of Jamia Mosque, and Horizon TV is part of Jamia Mosque. Sheikh, so let's use you as our lawyer, Tafadhalu, to say, dear, you appeal to get more time on air, yeah? As live real talk, you appeal to your fellow board members to put more time, inshallah. So, now, we were discussing about matters children and whether the Kadhis court, and of course, the Modi, the studio, and everyone. And of course, I guess some of you, most of you, the audience, have seen the wisdom behind why the children matters, especially the custody, can be sorted or can be, should be judged by the Kadhis court. And Sheikh Rashid Ali Omar hinted at something, said that I'll tell you where the problem lies. And Sheikh Rashid Ali Omar, this is the chance before we talk on other issues in terms of the challenges and underutilization of the Kadhis court. Where do you think the problem lies in these matters, whether the Kadhi should be in this whole bone of contention?
Thank you very much. The problem, first of all, I thank the Kadhis who have taken the initiative. Before some time long, that issue was not there and it was not coming up. But what happened is that the Kadhis, through their knowledge in personal status and all issues ancillary and incidental to children matters, handled the matter in their jurisdiction. Now, when it goes to the appeal, because this was not known before, because now majority and maybe 2 to maybe 100, except one maybe, they are doing, the Kadhis are handling. These things came up and the people now are challenging whether Kadhis have jurisdiction, because the way the judges are saying, it is not expressly being mentioned children matter. Now, when it goes to the High Court, the contradiction we are seeing and the confusion in the High Court is being caused by some reasons. One of the reasons are the judges are not learned in Islamic matters in regard to the jurisdiction of the Kadhis in these 4 elements. The other thing is that the judges generally rely on the secular law and the common law on these matters. The other thing, the judges, when they are analyzing these issues, just to talk about Section 5 of the Article 5, Article 170, they are talking about this jurisdiction and the Section 5 of the Kadhis Act. But the funny part of it, and I don't know whether it is biasness or maybe is a foresight or whatsoever it may be, there is Section 6 of the Kadhis Act. What does it say? It says the law, the rules of evidence applied in Kadhis court shall be that are applicable in Islamic law. Therefore, we don't have any other law. We don't have to face, if you want to look into whether Kadhis have jurisdiction in this matter or not, Section 6 tells you that the reference, the evidence you are going to get should be coming from the Islamic law, of which I have not found all the Kadhis who are for, all the judges who are for or against it, handling this matter. They always run away from that for their own reasons. But once they will have applied that, and that is where the problem lies, they are actually escaping that issue, which they telling them that, okay, do you want to find out whether Kadhis have jurisdiction on this matter so that you know what personal status is, what the component of marriage is, and the component of divorce, then go back to the Islamic law. They are not doing it. Instead, they go to the common law, and they also go to other laws, which I find, I was reading the ruling given by review by Abrule, Justice Abrule. They were saying, I think you brought us some laws, which from the Islamic perspective, I thank you for the person who brought, but I'm not following it. This is a situation you wonder whether is it biasness? Is it because of maybe they don't want to go a lot of findings and research on this matter? Because if they will have gone into it, it will have enriched their jurisprudential standard, of which I feel some judges have hinted to it actually, who have said that it is incidental. So the issue is the judges are not learned in Islamic issues relating to the jurisdiction of the Kadhis. They have to accept when they go, and the assessors, sometimes even the assessors, Kadhis whom they even don't follow. I have seen many of them saying, we don't disagree with the Kadhi, and then we don't disagree with the assessor. Where are you going then? There are some situations, problems is there. So I will have said and suggested that there should be CCU with High Court judges and the Kadhis. At the same time, Sheikh Sughyan is here in me. At the same time, the High Court judges needs to be told, because this issue of children, who looks better? We don't have in Kenya watoto was street boys. Muslims don't have it. That shows that we care for our children. And then, why are you fighting it when it is actually dispensation of justice in an effective and efficient manner? Instead of saying, thank you, you have assisted so that we remove the backlog, you are actually telling them, we will still retain the backlog and we don't want your jurisdiction. I think it is not fair, and it must be handled in one way or the other. No. And these judges needs to be, I sent some of my judgment previously to some judges. I can remember the way Sheikh Sughyan has said, a judge in Kisumu told me, please send me your judgments on this matter, and they upheld the issue. But still, we need to do a lot.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Sheikh Rashid Ali Omar, for that. Now, Deputy Chief Kadhi, Sheikh Sughyan, as we are winding up this conversation tonight, what are some of the challenges that you are facing as the Deputy Chief Kadhi and the Kadhis Court in general in this country? And of course, as you're addressing that, I'd also want you to touch on the underutilization of the Kadhis Court. Where does the problem lies, especially in this country? Because just to say, there was a Kadhi who was stationed in Kitale, but from someone who was actually there on the ground says that the Kadhi was so idle to an extent that after some time he had to be taken out of Kitale right? Kibra, the same. Until people realized the importance of the Qadi, the Kibra magistrates, it took time, a lot of time. I don't know whether he's reinstated back in Kibra, but let's talk about this issue. What are the challenges that you're facing, and integrate your answer with the editorialization of the Kadhis Court. Thank you, Shah. Karibu.
Thank you so much. 3 areas of the law, 3 laws I wanted to bring out very clearly. It's a big problem for the Kadhis Court. It seems a hidden hand is working behind our scene to make sure that this court is gradually eliminated. I want to tell this, my viewers, that this is a reality. 1, in the Constitution of 2010, which we never had before in our independent Constitution, Article 24, Sub-Article 4, limits the operation or application of the Islamic law to only before the Kadhis Court, excluding other courts. That's 1. This is the first thing. While in the Succession Act, when it was started sometimes in the 1980s, they wanted to bring the entire succession affairs of the Kenyans on one principle, excluding religious affairs. Muslims agitated those who were there then until Muslims were exempted and allowed to apply the Muslim law. Up to now, that is there, but the Constitution is saying that the operations of the Muslim law in Kenya and Article 24(4) is limited only before the Kadhis Court. That's 1. Article 175, from the back door, is nicked the word submission to the Kadhis Court, which is not there anywhere. It wasn't even debated. We don't know how it came about. It's also another limitation for the Kadhis Court. In 2014, the Kenyan Parliament enacted the Marriage Act, number 4 of 2014. In that, there is a provision which donates powers to the imams, sheikhs, and muhis and others to act as judges or as Kadhis, even to dissolve the marriage. To that extent, that's a very, very, very it has a very, very serious predicament. Consequences.
Wow.
This is a big problem that we have. Now, coming back, how to address this? Muslims need to be very proactive. Now, many of us may not be aware that there is an amended bill on children court, on the Children Act. Where were we? Where was our participation? It's already before the Parliament. Before the Parliament, there was a team who have been working on it. We need to wake up, gentlemen. The Muslim lawyers especially need to wake up and try to safeguard this ummah.
Wow.
And the other problem is that why are we talking of appeal, first of all, in the first place? Why are we talking of issue of the jurisdiction? The court does not, out of a blue, the Superior Court, raise on its own issue of the jurisdiction. It is we, the Muslim, who come before our court, Kadhis Court. All of a sudden, when we see that things are not working on our way, then the first thing that we raise is the jurisdiction. It's quite unfortunate. The person who's doing this is a Muslim. Some of the time, sometimes even the lawyer who's representing is a Muslim. Imagine. Okay? These are the challenges that we have. We can't control on this. Now the other thing, the Kadhis, maybe you mentioned the issue of the Kitale and Kibra. What was it?
Underutilization of the
underutilization. Yeah. Yes, it's true. There are many Kadhis stations which are underutilized. That's the reality. They have been underutilized. What's the reason? The reason the communities in which those courts were established were not enlightened or they weren't sensitized enough. Okay? These are homogeneous communities who have been living with others. Okay? So their lifestyle, they have been taking it the way others have been taking it. All these areas where the Muslims are minority, that is the situation. In Gitalia, the court could not perform until we close the court. In Mwingi, we closed the court. In Muranga, we closed the court. A number of the courts we have closed. But the courts which are operating in predominantly the Muslims areas, they are fairly doing well. If
I was concerned about
the Kibir itself, I don't really know why it's not picking it very well, but it's doing well. It's not that bad. Only that the workload is not that much. Here in Upper Hill, we have a lot of work. Okay, we decided to have the Kadhi from there, from the Kibra to assist us, but he still is going there. All right? But these areas need a lot of sensitization. Other areas where Muslims are minority need a lot of sensitization. Now, we have, for example, closed a court in, let's say, in where? In Migori. Okay? In Migori, we closed. A number of areas we did close. Not for the reason that the courts are not performing, actually. The reason is that the courts have been underperforming, and the areas which those courts are quite needed. Those courts were needed because there's a lot of work. That's why those courts have been closed. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Sheikh Ibrahim Lithome, as you're wrapping up this conversation tonight, what would be your parting shot in matters sensitization to the community and the importance of Kadhis court in this country?
It is very simple. My two colleagues have talked about sensitization. The Muslims need to know that these courts were created specifically to serve the Muslims, and they are in line with Qala Allahu Ta'ala, Qala Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. That this is in accordance with the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And it is we Muslims that need to make use of these courts, and they will grow when we show that we need these courts. On the issue that is disturbing Sheikh Suqiyan, it's also disturbing me and disturbing any person who feels for the Ummah. The issue of submitting yourself to the jurisdiction of the Kadhis courts. For me, any person who says he is a Muslim or she is a Muslim, by virtue of you being a Muslim, you have submitted. Because by not submitting yourself to the jurisdiction of the Kadhis courts, which rules in accordance with the teachings of the Quran and the Sunnah, it's like, na'udhu billahi min dhalika, you're saying I'm not submitting myself to the teachings of the Quran and the Sunnah. It's one thing not to be satisfied with the ruling of a Qadi. That's allowed. So appeals are there, even in Sharia. But it's another thing saying, I do not submit. And when you look at the reason why some people say, I do not want to submit myself to the Qadi's courts, is because they feel it's not going their way. It's not supposed to be your way. It's supposed to be what is the right thing. So I want to tell my fellow Muslims, and particularly with the scholars, can you use the platforms that are available to you, like the mimbars, talk shows on radio and TV, to sensitize the Ummah on the importance of supporting the Kadhis courts and submitting yourself. By the very fact that you are a Muslim, just know that you have submitted yourself to the jurisdiction of the Kadhis courts. And the Muslims lawyers who are not conversant with the Sharia, please humble yourself and know the importance of the Kadhis courts. And for those who are not Muslims, who do not know the importance of the Kadhis courts, humble yourself and just find out the importance of these courts and why we should allow the jurisdiction of the courts to grow. Jazakumullahu khair.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Sheikh. Jazakallah khair. And of course, Sheikh Rashid Ali Omar, inshallah, your parting shot tonight on this discussion of the Kadhis.
I just want to remind, and I have said, is that on 22nd of this month,
yes,
there will be many bills being presented for the first reading to the National Assembly. Among them is the Children's Act to be amended. In the amendments, we don't know what is there, but we have legislators who are very many Muslims. I ask them, and the Muslims have to contact them, that we put the element of that in that one. They should argue that the Children's Act did not oust the Kadhis Act or the Kadhis court in dealing with this matter. And they look into the issue very seriously, because I feel our legislators, Muslim legislators in the assembly, are not doing their work, what is required from them, as my previous experience of a lot of things which we have told them. And now it is on the members and everything. But this issue of the jurisdiction needs, I know there is something coming up, the Kadhis bench book. it will be coming up, and the Kadhis rules and the practices are coming up. And once they are supposed to be there, it will be very clear. About 3 chapters are talking about children matters, and we don't know whether it will solve and whether it will be, but it will be an additional added. The Kadhis have done that work. There is a big book of about 9 chapters that we have done it, and I think it will reduce and it will also educate the judges and others on these matters. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jazakallah khair. And one important thing that I just want to let you go with tonight, Sheikh Ibrahim Lithome says, it's not about your way, it's about the right way. So always be just in your thinking, in your speech, and in everything that you do every day, because that is what Islam expects from us. This is a just religion, and so we should be just from our thinking, our actions, and our speech. Thank you so much for keeping it live, Real Talk. Thank you so much to all the panelists this evening, former Deputy Chief Kadhi, Dr. Rashid Ali Omar, Sheikh Ibrahim Lithome, and Deputy Chief Kadhi, Sheikh Sukyan. Thank you so much. Thanks so much to the crew that made this thing possible, from Mohammed Samabora, Mohammed Gitonga, Hassan Idris, Suleiman Nachasa, Ibrahim Muhammad, Muhammad Uteo. Thank you so much. And thank you, the viewers, for keeping us company. I hope you have benefited as I have benefited in the studio. See you next week, same place, same time. I've been your host, Faisal Kassim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi.
Jazakumullah khair.